Hey, hey, hey. Coming at you all the way live, streaming. This is Revolution. Whew, today is a rough day. I was not planning on wearing this shirt today, but I am wearing it in honor of one of my guitar heroes and probably hell of people out there's guitar heroes. Eddie Van Halen passed away today, succumbing to throat cancer. This chair. Still out there. Uh-oh. 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. Another audio issue that is rather annoying to have, but they happen, especially when I have to do this stuff remotely. But that being said, back to what I was saying earlier, Eddie Van Halen passed away today, and he's definitely one of my huge guitar heroes and inspiration. I have like 3 Eddie Van Halen inspired guitars. I definitely love the fact that he had like built these guitars out of like whatever ass parts. So these guitars that I have that are like my Van Halen ass guitars are guitars that I hella found literally at Soundwave. I think we found like 2 or 3 guitars, and I remember asking Greg Day, who had like, I mean, they were in really, really bad shape. And Greg Day, G Status Repair, he got them working, and we changed some pickups out and stuff like that. And then I remember asking him, I was like, hey, can you do the Van Halen paint job on one of them, or tape job, but can you do it Giants colors? And I have another one that I have forgotten. When I was on tour, Cindy and I were on tour in LaFin, and it is still in Evansville, Indiana, somewhere. I think that venue that it was in is closed now, so I'm sure somebody has it. I really like that guitar. There's hella pictures of me playing it, and every time I see those pictures, I hella miss it. But that being said, I'm waiting for one of my guests today to jump on. I'll be speaking with Paul Kott of High Tone Son of a Bitch. We had planned today to talk about everything but Eddie Van Halen, which is kind of funny. We were going to talk about Trump and his COVID escapade. We're going to talk about Supreme Court nominees and what's going to happen with that, with everybody falling ill in the White House. And we were also going to discuss Proposition 22, which is a big deal here in California. Yes, fucking rest in peace, Eddie. I think the first Van Halen record I ever heard was probably 1984. I'm only, uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hey, 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 hey. Hello? Okay, you can hear me. Okay, see now. One of the, I think, Hot for Teacher video. I remember seeing that video and being like, holy shit. And in the Panama video, they looked like they were probably the most fun people in the world. And then I was telling my girlfriend Jessica that when I was, was it like 6, 7 years old, I remember the Beat It video came on. I remember my dad, who is not a rock metal guy at all, was like, that's Eddie Van Halen playing that solo. Like, every time we would come on, he'd always tell me that Eddie Van Halen playing that guitar. Van Halen from the band Van Halen. Like he knew who the fuck Van Halen was. And that sent me down a rabbit hole, man. I remember my mom was dating a dude, and he had this dubbed cassette, and I would always sneak into my mother's. She's probably watching this. I'm old enough to remember, and I hope people out here are old enough to remember when cats had, like when their parents had that big stereo system where shit was tiered, and it had the glass on it, and you had to open the glass, and they had like the vinyl stacked up to the side, and cassettes. So we had the one that had the record player on top, and a cassette deck thing in the middle. And her boyfriend had this cassette, and it was Led Zeppelin 3 on one side, and what Van Halen record was that? Diver Down, but it was a dub. And I just remember playing that thing like just nonstop, and that's again what kind of got me into doing this crazy heavy music that I do. Checking my phone real quick to see if Pasquale is coming on. He said he's got to hook up his stuff. Pasquale, what bands was he in? He was in This Moment. I believe he filled in and sang with Fear Factory for a minute. I think he sang with the band Pathology. I don't know what other bands he was in. He knows everybody. He's been in every band. He lives in New Mexico, and he's a very good friend of mine and Bitter Lake. I definitely want to hear his Van Halen stories. But and I'm also really sad. Unfortunately, one of the Bitter Lake guitar players, Todd Buller, couldn't be on this stream. Todd and I are the old guys in the band. And we both love hair metal or 80s metal, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't have a guilty pleasure. I don't believe in that shit. I like what I like. And I definitely grew up listening to Van Halen. You could throw in Motley Crue. You could throw in Rat. I like George Lynch as a guitar player more than I like Doc in the band, I guess you could say. But like we would talk for hours on these long ass drives about how that shit shaped us, even though neither one of us played that kind of music at all. Todd has a little bit more of it in his style. Josh Snelling says Van Hagar was even pretty good, to be honest. I have no problem with Sammy fucking Hagar. Van Halen with Sammy Hagar sounds like what it is. And those guys, this is just my opinion, those guys couldn't keep up that energy from those early David Lee Roth records. And I like the more mature Hagar sound. Not more than that. It's a different tastes, I guess you could say. There's a band, a tribute band. I don't want to disrespect them by calling them a cover band, called Hot for Teacher. And Hot for Teacher is in another band. I want to say they're called Red Rocker. Is it Red Rocker? Anyway, they do all the David Lee Roth years Van Halen, and they have a whole other band that does the Sammy Hagar Van Halen. And they're a decent sized band. They are, they do this shit a lot. I believe they've even met Van Halen or played in front of him or however that works. They're also very, very, very nice guys. I got to know them working at Soundwave for all those years. And see, my mom is watching, and now she knows that I was listening to those records. And when they'd be there, I'd get kind of excited. Because, they fucking nailed it when they would do those Van Halen covers. And I could ask for requests. And they knew all the songs. So they could just pull it out. And I'd be like, hey, Unchained. It's tonight the night y'all going to do Unchained. That is by far one of my favorite Van Halen songs probably my favorite Van Halen song. Every iteration of the band um, is Unchained. Um, hold on one second. Uh, Pasquale cannot come through. He's got to read bedtime stories. That's fine. I can do this on my own. I don't need you. Um, so I forget where I was, and someone was playing that song, and someone told me that Eddie Van Halen had tuned his guitar to drop D flat. And at the time, I was playing in a band or playing in bands. We were in drop B and drop this and drop C and drop that. And I just remember going back and revisiting that Fair Warning record, like listening to it a lot and thinking of how heavy it was. And for, I want to say, like the first 2 or 3 LaFin projects, we played in drop D flat because I thought, like, you know what, let's tune up higher than where some of these guys are and still be as heavy. Because if Eddie fucking Van Halen can be monstrously heavy at drop D flat, then we can too. I can't say I'm there now with Bitter Lake. I think we're in F. we're in drop F sharp, drop F sharp with special strings. But since it's just me, that's what I'm going to say about Eddie's passing. I'm really saddened by it. It's another sign that we're getting older as these cats are passing away. I'm sure people are revisiting the material right now. Definitely turn up Van Halen 2. Blast Eruption and piss off your neighbors. That being said, a big reason why I wanted Pasquale on here is because he's been calling people out that are going down a rabbit hole of Trump conspiracy theories, and I'm sure you guys have some Trump conspiracy theories that you heard, or there's feelings that you guys have on Trump and coronavirus. I have to say, I'll be honest. I really think Donald Trump has coronavirus. My first thought was like, nah, bullshit. Oh, okay. So I did post this comment. This is a comment from my cousin Keenan Foster, who's a wonderful human being. To flash back to Van Halen, I guess we can't just pass Van Halen for like 5 minutes. We really got to spend some time with this. This is fucking Eddie Van Halen. Him and I watched Headbangers Ball as little kids and headbanged to all that shit. Definitely to Van Halen. By that time, it was probably like the Sammy Hagar years. Guns N' Roses. So, yes, I played a lot of air guitar. We would put pillowcases on our heads because we were black kids. We didn't have hair, so we could headbang. True story. I have no problem saying that. That being said, I definitely want to hear you guys' Trump conspiracy theories. Please tell me your Trump conspiracy theories. I wouldn't say I was feeling that there was fake. I felt like it was a win-win situation for this guy. And I was trying to give a take on this last week, and then the audio went out. So I'll try to be very still so the audio stays in. Donald Trump is an enigma like no other that we are seeing in politics. And a big reason why I feel this way is because he's doing things that we normally don't see. And a lot of it is just the real brash, rude behavior. And there's been countless articles written about it. I think Matt Taibbi has one of the best takes on it in his book, Hate Inc., where he talks about Trump in pro wrestling, how Trump, I wouldn't say came up in pro wrestling, but he is a part of pro wrestling. I believe he's in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. His brand is very reactionary, and he's been working on branding for like 40 years. And I think we all have to kind of keep that in mind, that this dude, for 40 years, he's been working on a brand that says he is really, really rich and he's really, really powerful, and that equates some sort of intelligence. There's been countless articles and some amazing books that really break down the Trump family legacy, how they started, how they've protected it, how they've evaded and avoided taxes for generations. And it almost falls by the wayside for some reason, and I don't know why. Part of me thinks it's because the left, not the Democratic Party, and when I say the left, I'm not speaking of the Democratic Party. The left isn't really good at a narrative against what Trump is doing, a narrative that's easy to follow. Trump has a real simple narrative. I am the all-knowing, the all-doing, the all-powerful, and whatever I say goes. And the way he kind of mowed through the Republican Party to get that nomination by running to the left of his party and calling people out in this like over the top rude way that we had never seen before, like really taking pro wrestling and putting it in politics. And by the time he got up to the race against Hillary Clinton, he was the heel you loved to hate. He was Rowdy Roddy Piper. He was The Rock in the early years before he became the people's champion, whatever the fuck he was before he left. The heel that you loved to hate. To the point where you started to just love the heel. He still plays the heel, and people really dig that. I don't, but you know, it's interesting how people really dig that heel vibe of him, that pro wrestling vibe. So when he talks and he says things, and I'm so sad Pasquale couldn't jump on. If you're watching this, Pasquale, I'm so sad you couldn't jump on. And I did ask you last minute, in all fairness. It's never his fault. We first have to understand, like, let's go back and kind of look at a lot of this guy's failures. It's never been his fault why he's failed at anything. It's always been the market or somebody else, but it's never him. Like even COVID, for him to be able to stand there in that really, really horrible debate, but that debate with Joe Biden and say, you screwed up swine flu way more than I ever did with this COVID thing. I saved lives because if I wouldn't have acted when I acted, 1 million people would have been dead. And he's literally talking to the American public like an abusive boyfriend or husband, right? Some abusive partner, right? Like, man, I could have beat the shit out of you. You're lucky all I did was slap you. 1 million people should have died, but only 200,000 died. So, I mean, that's a lot, but it wasn't my fault. China did. They unleashed it on us. I mean, if that's the case, then, you know, in defense of Biden and Barack Obama, then, you know, West Africa unleashed Ebola, and they did a phenomenal job at making sure A gajillion people didn't die. Trump is like that TV show you watch that sucks and insults your intelligence, but you keep watching to see what's next. The presidential debate was like watching the final scene in 8 Mile. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the debate. The debate was not. We tried to do a crossing of the streams. Ghostbusters told us we shouldn't do it, and now I know we won't do it anymore. But I was on the Left Flank Vets show, giving my 2 cents on the debate. I mean, poll numbers, for whatever they're worth, are saying that Biden is way up in the polls. But if you watch the debate, you watch Donald Trump do the same thing he did when he thought he lost to Hillary Clinton. If you remember, when he thought he lost to Hillary Clinton, first thing he said was, "Man, just remember, it's them 3 million Mexicans that stole this election from me, and California and all them the Mexicans stole it from me," which isn't true. He did end up winning, and he kind of backed off that for a while. And one thing that I just don't understand, everything he says becomes newsworthy. And it's this weird cycle, right? He doesn't believe anything he's saying. It's pro wrestling. Go back and watch the Ultimate Warriors in between match takes. He says the most insane shit, ever. And that's kind of Donald Trump's mentality. I'm going to say the most insane shit ever. And it's just newsworthy. And he loves it. He gives a kick out of that shit. Watch him when he's doing one of his rallies. He just plays to the crowd's kind of lowest instinct. I look out, I see a bunch of white people, so y'all definitely hate these coloreds. So let me throw you some meat on these coloreds. Let me say all lives matter. Let me say we need law and order. And then let me just make some shit up about Joe Biden. He just made Joe Biden. I wish Joe Biden was the socialist that Donald Trump says he is. I wish Joe Biden was the Medicare for all. I'm going to put Bernie in charge of all this shit. And AOC is the Secretary of State. And we're going to pull out all 170 countries we're in with military bases. Like, that's not happening. That's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to protect the system at all costs. Joe Biden is not trying to figure out how to build high-speed rails to reduce carbon emissions. Do we need Trump out of office? Yes. Should people vote for Joe Biden? Harvey J.K., man, he called me out when he said, you can fight neoliberalism, but you cannot fight authoritarianism. I think the fight's a lot longer. It's a lot bloodier. It's a lot harder. But Josh Snelling says, I've always hated him. Still, it was awesome seeing him take down Jeb Bush and other neocons in 2015. If we got in the Wayback Machine in 2014 and I told you I am from the future and Donald Trump is about to be president, and because of capitalism run amok, neoliberalism run amok, there's going to be another zoonotic virus that's going to kill millions, but this time it's going to affect the US and Western nations in a way that usually that stuff is reserved for what we call third world countries. You would be like, word? Word, future man? What is this? In the year like 2075? I'm like, nah, nigga, like 2020. Donald Trump's going to be president over Hillary Clinton. I think we all were under the impression that after Barack Obama, we were going to get a Hillary Clinton presidency. Right? That's what I thought. Until I started seeing Donald Trump get steam. Because also we have to look at the presidency as like a popularity contest for a lot of people. Most people don't follow policy. That's fair. Can't get mad at that. We live in a world where our devices are tracking everything we're doing. So if you're playing games on your phone and liking your friends' pictures of their baby and shit, and you're a big fan of The View, you're probably not going to get a lot of hardcore Intercept articles peeking through on your timeline. So when MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, which are major, reputable outlets, become your mainstream news sources, well, then, you're not going to know who the fuck Howie Hawkins is. You're not going to know who Gloria LaRiva is. You're not going to know who Angela Walker is. You're not going to understand the Green Party. Or even Joe Jurgensen, whatever her name is, for the Libertarian Party, which I'm just saying it. Hurt my soul a little bit. So I understand it's a bit of a popularity contest, and dude won that popularity contest on another level, just being an ass. And at the same time he's coming up being an ass, we have Bernie Sanders coming up being true to who he is, saying things that haven't really been in the American lexicon. The way Bernie Sanders talks about Medicare for all is the way people pitched the ACA during the Obama years. The ACA is not Medicare for all. It's not even close. And it showed me, now reflecting back, right? The power of projection on these candidates. A lot of us weren't listening to what a few cats were saying about Barack Obama. I just got the book Class Notes, but in it's a series of essays written by a man named Adolph Reed Jr. And Adolph Reed called out who Barack Obama is as far as kind of being a neoliberal that's going to, takes his cues from Wall Street in 1995, 96. So 10 plus years before he became president. I advise everybody to go get Class Notes. So we projected upon him that he was going to be, JFK and MLK and every other, great person rolled into one because he spoke so well. He's so well spoken. In the great words of Chris Rock. And that's not what we got. Donald Trump was, I know he talked about draining the swamp, but he came at the election from this perspective of being the string puller. How many people that are listening to this or watching this have said or have a friend that said, or you've had to try to have some sort of political debate, and somebody kind of does this thing and they say, well, you know, business runs everything anyway. They're all just puppets. Politicians are just puppets. He said, I'm the puppet master. If all these guys are puppets, I'm the puppet master. There's a debate where he's literally like, I know these guys do these things because I'm the one that pays them to do it. For a lot of people, that was like unmasking. That was like, damn, you are the great and powerful Oz. So maybe you're the one to right the ship. But then why would we think a guy that says, I've bent the rules in my favor. I was born rich, bitch, I'm a die rich. But I care about the working class. That's the part that kind of makes me go, word? Like y'all really thought? Like he gave a shit about you? Like he told you, I don't give a shit. A lot of people say it's because he quote unquote owned the libs. Because every time he would talk, the Rachel Maddows of the world got real reactionary and they just went off. Maybe. That being said, this run for him is over. If he wanted to be president, if he really kind of gave a shit, then he would have done just a few things. He could have passed Medicare for all during COVID, and that would have been huge. He's leading through these kind of titular executive orders, and the COVID handling is one of the great blunders of this century, of my lifetime. And every time you think it can't get any worse, he double downs on that ignorance. So today he is suspending the stimulus hearings, and he's like, I'll do it after the election. Like after you appoint me for another 4, then I'll help you out. I know you're hurting. I know people are fucking getting evicted, but you know, just no. So where there was this massive gift to a lot of industries, a lot of companies got like billions of stimulus dollars, if not hundreds of millions of stimulus dollars. And let's just look at Disney real quick. Disney got a shit ton of stimulus money. And when people think about Disney and their properties, I think people think, well, their parks are shut down, so they're hemorrhaging money. Nah, they're like good. They're not very far off earnings-wise where they were last year with all of their parks fully operational. So Florida's at what, like 25% capacity or something like that. Anaheim is shut down. And I think some of their overseas stuff is open now. But amusement parks isn't where Disney makes all their money. They're in movies. They're in television. They're kind of in everything. Right? They're streaming now. With good shit. The Mandalorian's awesome. I'd be lying to you if I didn't like The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian. That being said, they're laying off 28,000 people. My cousin says ESPN, Fox, Star Wars, Marvel, They're generating revenue from almost every popular form of entertainment. Thank you. Thank you. So they're laying off 28,000 people. I was on a tour for a kids TV show called Yo Gabba Gabba in 2010, so 10 years ago. I met some wonderful people on that show. There was a movie that came out called Death to Smoochie that kind of paints this bad light on characters and people that are in the costumes that are really foul-mouthed individuals that just do horrible shit. Everyone that was a part of that show was a genuine individual. They gave a shit about children. They respected their characters to the point where I remember once, so there was a few different casts. It's 10 years. I'm sure I'm not breaking any kayfabe rules. There was a few different casts. So there's a cast that's on the stage, and those were two casts that actually did the TV show. And there was a cast that was hired to do the VIP meet and greet. They were just to be in the costumes and kind of mimic the same motions from the cast that's on the TV show. And I remember one of the girls that was in the VIP meet and greet cast was smoking a cigarette, and one of the characters just kind of went off on her, like about the image. I remember DJ Lance from Yo Gabba Gabba and Biz Marquee signing every autograph. Snatching up kids that were sad they couldn't afford to get to the VIP party and letting them go anyway. So when I say like genuinely good people, the characters, I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. They're wonderful, wonderful people. And a lot of them came from Disney. And a lot of them still work for Disney. And they really liked the job. And now some of them had these really sad, when the announcement came down, they changed their profile picture because they were leaving the company after so many years. And that's heartbreaking to see that happen, because it doesn't have to happen. Right? Because it's like, okay, I'm going to fire all these people because they're making X amount of dollars, and now I can hire them back at a much lower wage. Yay, capitalism. The airline industry is looking at firing 36,000 people. They got bailed out big time with the CARES Act stimulus. So here we are in the middle of this pandemic. There's been no protection like our European brothers and sisters have gotten. I just read an article about France. They're extending for all the workers that got furloughed over there. It's like, we're going to pay you 80% of your salary while you're furloughed through next summer. And you still got amazing health care and all the other benefits that you get. Here? Sorry, buddy. You get some bullshit ass moratorium rules that people are still getting evicted in this country. And we're looking at a massive housing crisis. And it wasn't like before COVID, everything was hunky-dory, and this just threw a monkey wrench into shit. Things were horrible beforehand. And they are so bad now. No, we get no bailout here. The bailout was to big businesses. And these guys have access to this interest-free money because the banks loan it to these large corporations, because people say corporations, sometimes they think like all corporations, and then some jackass is incorporated that owns like a mechanic shop and thinks we're talking about him. No, we're talking about major multinational corporations. We're talking about non-tax paying motherfuckers. We're talking about the Bezoses of the world. And speaking of Bezos, I actually did a show recently. The most recent episode of This Is Revolution podcast, please check it out, is with Chris Smalls. Chris Smalls is the young man who did organize an Amazon walkout because they were not protecting their workers. I think he told me like 8 people died in his facility from COVID because they don't really care. And there's a pretty staggering number of people that have died from COVID in Amazon in general. So, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and you see the frustration in the American people because it comes to this boiling point with things like these young men and women getting murdered by the state. Ahmaud Arbery, I think, kind of kicked the year off, right? And that wasn't a state-sponsored murder, but that was one of those things where nobody was really going to do anything about it until people really got upset. Then you get Breonna Taylor after that, which is the warrant. Police don't identify themselves. The young lady wants to know who the fuck is busting in her door. They start busting off some shots. Her boyfriend busts off shots because, that's what you're supposed to do. What really broke my heart in her case was the NRA didn't come to defend her like it does all these other jackasses that kill people willy-nilly. They had firearm legally. Everybody that I know has a firearm says the same shit. I have it for protection from my family. Well, the motherfucking police busted in her door, and her dude did what anybody would do. If you have a firearm in the house, you bust back. And they popped, was it 8 holes in that poor woman? Then you have George Floyd. He actually gets killed on camera, and the U.S. just blew up. The world blew up. And what's heartbreaking about that is we see almost this unified America, because it's not just people that look like me. It's a lot of different people out there pissed off. Does the lockdown have them pissed off? Probably. Does not working have them pissed off? Probably. There's the fact that a motherfucker that was on reality show TV yesterday walked in the White House the next day and just been fucking shit up royally. Like he's on Big Brother 7. Just doing shit. That probably pissed motherfuckers off too. That had a lot to do with that shit that caused that explosion, right? But all we hear about is a handful of assholes and some Fred Perry shirts. We hear ad nauseum about Proud Boy this and Proud Boy that. You know that is free recruitment for them motherfuckers? Who remembers all those stories that were coming out when Trump was running in 2016 and 2015? And the narrative was Donald Trump is getting $1 billion worth of free ad time because MSNBC can't stop covering him. Russia, Russia, Russia. That motherfucker wouldn't shut up with that shit. Right? He still dominates the news cycle doing nothing, saying nothing. So it's it's frustrating because I think we have to break that cycle and start talking about what's really important. We have millions of people taken to the streets saying no more. We need a change. We have to have change. Not incremental change, but we need a new. But that story doesn't get told. We got to hear about 200 dudes in Fred Perry shirts. My son just came in. So if you hear somebody whisper, "Daddy," it's Phoenix. He may join us shortly. And I think we need to start trying to change that narrative, right? To one of unity. You know, those Portland protests. It's a lot of our white brothers and sisters out there protesting, mad as fuck. The Proud Boys, they're not really trying to come to Oakland. They're not really trying to come to San Francisco or South Central. They're not really trying to come to Houston. They're not really trying to come to Miami and Orlando and a lot of these other places where they're going to get fucked up. They're going to get fucked up in Chicago. So Trump has COVID. And I'm very sad. Not one person has typed in their conspiracy theory on COVID Trump. He's faking it. That's all a plan to go, aha. Or he's going to get sympathy votes a la Ronald Reagan when he got shot. This ain't Reagan getting shot. This ain't the U.S. uniting. This isn't George Bush Jr. with a real shitty approval rating, and then 9/11 happens, and everyone, quote unquote, stands behind their president. My boy from the Central Coast says Seattle ain't having that Proud Boy shit. I'm telling you, there's places them cats can't go because they don't want to see these hands. Let's just be real. I'm not shook. What really kind of irritated the shit out of me is the question that was asked to Donald Trump during the debate was like, will you renounce any right-wing white supremacist organizations? And the way I looked at that question was like right-wing, white supremacist organizations. The Proud Boys does have like brothers in it and Latins in it and Asian cats in it. So let's just say this for all your friends or people that you know that say like, but so-and-so is black and da-da-da-da, Candace Owens and da-da-da. First and foremost, go check any black motherfucker that's a right-wing motherfucker on Twitter. They have millions of followers. Hundreds of thousands of followers. Check Ben Dixon's milk dud ass. I like Ben Dixon. I like a lot of the shit he says. I'm not saying it to clown him. I'm just saying, that nigga know he look like a milk dud. He doesn't have the reach that they have. That's not to say he's a bad dude. That's not to say that he ain't trying. It's just once you are a person of color and you start talking that rah-rah Trump shit, there's a lot of motherfuckers that's going to give you some money. If I sat right down here now and started talking some libertarian bullshit and some rah-rah Trump bullshit and some yay capitalism bullshit, there are some white people somewhere that would love to give my chocolatey ass some money. Best believe. I forgot why we went on that tangent because I can hear my son in the background. It's fucking up my head. Um, uh-oh. So here comes the boy. What can I just say? Yeah. Okay, he's gonna say hello. Okay. No. Okay, maybe not. You want to say hello? No. Oh no, he don't want to talk to y'all. That's messed up, Phoenix. Can you at least say bye bye? Can you walk over here? No, mommy doesn't want to be on camera. Okay. Someone says we have corrupt Democrats like Biden and a corrupt GOP. Yeah. I can't deny that. Of course, there's issues with the Democratic Party. There's issues with Joe Biden. Donald Trump tried to call out some of those issues in that debate, which I thought were fucking hilarious. When he goes, "You wrote the crime bill." So it's not like you're sitting there dismantling said crime bill that he wrote. It's not like you're sitting there trying to make shit better. So the fuck what? The shit that led up to that crime bill in the first place, let's not forget, Donald Trump was the one taking full page ads out in the Times saying, let's put these 15-year-olds in a goddamn electric chair for a crime that they never did. They got out, and not a documentary, but a movie was made about their story called When They See Us. It's a pretty good Ava DuVernay movie. I liked it. And she makes it a point to talk about that Trump ad because he went hard. I remember those days. Those were the hard copy days. Those were the Morton Downey Jr. days. Trump went hard on them kids. And when called out about it, he goes, I still think them niggas did it. So what was he really finna say at that point? Clown ass motherfucker. I have notes. I always have show notes. If you guys can, check out the show. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Definitely please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Become a patron if you can. We're creating patron-only programming. We have hooked up with a group of animators and filmmakers in Southern California called Left Click. And they've been doing some great work with Ground Game LA and some other people out there. And we are going to be doing a history series called Revolutionary Histories. I was really heartbroken, not mildly heartbroken. Our idea was to kind of be, I wouldn't say exactly what PragerU is for the right, but kind of like make these short animated educational videos about histories that most people don't talk about, definitely from a left perspective. The first thing we're starting to do that we're going to bring to you is a history on the rise of China. Super stoked on that. I wish so bad I could show you guys, but if you want to get an idea of what it's going to be like, there's an episode. If you listen to the show on iTunes or the Apple Podcasts or Spotify or SoundCloud or Podbean, like however you listen to the show, even on YouTube, there's a show I have called Debunking China Myths with Professor Ken Hammond. Professor Ken Hammond is one that's helping us out with this China series. And basically for like an hour or so, we talked about misinformation that definitely comes out when it comes to U.S. propaganda and the way we look at China. There's a lot of Red Scare shit with China right now, and we're trying to really debunk that. with several other histories. So when I saw the Gravel Institute was doing like these like PragerU-esque videos, they had a new one today, and it was called Capitalism versus Freedom. And there was a book that came out a year or so ago, written by a man named Rob Larson, who's also on the show. And you can go back and listen to that episode. That's like, I think that and the China episode, like right next to each other. And we didn't talk so much about that book. He had a new book out at the time. It's called Bit Tyrants. It's a great book. I think you should read it. It's about the kind of the horrible oligarchic power of and monopoly power of Silicon Valley. And in that episode, Professor Larson actually tells us how cell phones came to be and the internet came to be, and how none of those things came to be with the innovation of the people that we think created that. He even talks about the iPhone. Like every component that's in the iPhone was made by public dollars. So check out those episodes, and it'll give you an idea of what we're going to be able to condense all that down into 2 minutes and have it be animated. One of the people that's part of the team that'll be writing these scripts was a script writer for the show Robot Chicken. I'm hella juiced for this shit. So please become a patron. Help us do this, so I can go back to the studio and do these shows, not the kitchen. I like being in the kitchen. There's a proposition in California. I was trying to write something for this. I was hoping to have it done before the show, and unfortunately, it's not done. I'm still writing it. But Proposition 22 here in California is a proposition that basically was drafted by the gig drivers of the Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and Instacart, I believe. Companies put this together because California passed a bill early this year called Assembly Bill 5, basically saying that gig workers have to be looked at as actual employees and not contractors. And they had a 3-step plan on how you're going to look at people as contractors or gig workers. And there's definitely going to be people that are going to be excluded from this bill. There was a lot of misinformation when the bill was being drafted. To all my musician homies, that said that musicians were going to be on the hook to have to pay like overtime and medical bills, or not medical bills, but they have to pay for medical for people that do contracted work on records, or your studio guy, and bars were going to have to pay. It was all bullshit. Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and Instacart literally are on the record saying, we are going to spend $110 million to make sure we don't have to pay you motherfuckers a living wage. Literally. I am an anti-capitalist. The band I'm in, Bitter Lake, I am so anti-capitalist. When we were designing our hoodie, and only a few people picked up on it, surprisingly, I asked the guy designing it, Mike Cobra, shout out to Mike Cobra, the motherfucking G. I said, can you make them red with yellow writing? That's how anti-capitalist I am. Our logo is a $sign with an upside down cross. Like it's the logo on a lot of the stuff on this show. This gig economy is like peak capitalism, right? You hire people as contractors, and you're just a platform that connects riders with drivers. But that's not how those jobs work. And the bill 22 that these companies are drafting is saying, look, we'll pay you a living wage. If you work so many hours a month, we'll do that bare minimum insurance shit. But we're not going to let you unionize, and we're not going to let you have paid sick leave because you're a contractor. You're going to stay a contractor because we don't want to give you any worker protections or any worker rights. And where this gets frightening is there's a ton of jobs. Tons of jobs. I do contract work. There's tons of jobs that look at you as a contractor because I don't have to worry about all those worker protections. Things like workman's comp. Right? We are raised to be production workers at the lowest rate. I believe that in my soul. So when these drivers got together and was like, no, because let's keep in mind, there's other places where Uber and Lyft don't exist because of the fucking pushback that they got. And also, we forget these companies operate at a loss. They're not really making the money we think they're making. They hedge their bets on these driverless cars. That shit didn't work out the way they thought it would. Andrew Yang's robot utopia has not come to be. Doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime in the near future. So now you stuck with all these motherfuckers that you bamboozled to get in, right? How many people listening to this shit right now drove or drive for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, insert business here? And how many people, when they started X amount of years ago, got paid hell more than they did before? When I worked, we had bonuses, and I was getting, yeah, I get it. That was the plan. Right? Let's get the market, control the market, and we drive up the prices. We can drive up the prices on the motherfucking people. How you living, Patrick Jones? So here we have California. The Attorney General was like, check it. We got this law. Y'all are hella violating the shit out of this law. We literally wrote it for y'all hoes. And I'm going to sue y'all for violating that shit. Because these are workers. And just because you're a worker doesn't mean you have to come in at a certain time and now the people at Uber got to make schedules for you. Nope. They can keep the system going the same way it's going right now. And the ad campaign that they're paying $110 million with people that look just like me, they look just like you, and they go, I love the flexibility. And if you don't vote yes on 22, I'm not going to be able to fucking log in at 5 o'clock with literally 10,000 other people and struggle to make $5 an hour. If you read Bill Proposition 22, their minimum wage you're guaranteed evens out to $5.64 a fucking hour. So let me see something real quick. I want to show you guys the Economic Policy Institute, because I'm reading this thing. Let's see, share my screen with you. trying to share this footage with you. My computer is moving very slow. Here we go. Bam. You're seeing it right now, right? Comparing worker rights under AB 5, that's Assembly Bill 5, and the proposed gig worker ballot initiative. And this is Proposition 22. Now, also, I had a friend on here, wonderful woman. She had put a post and she said, I just want to get both sides of the issue. Let's stop with the both sidesing. On certain issues, there is more than one side. On this, there is not. The companies that have been fucking people for some time now are proposing a bill because the state, one state, said, you guys can't operate like this here. So there is no both sides. Your people don't come up with Proposition 22. You get a minimum wage under Assembly Bill 5, overtime pay, unemployment insurance. When you're a contractor, you don't pay into that. Workers' comp. What happens when shit happens in your car? You get in a car accident. Maybe you can't drive. Shit out of luck. Paid sick days. If you're struggling to make $4 and $5 an hour driving your car 80 hours a week, if not more, 7 days a week, you're probably going to drive it sick here and there. That's a problem. Discrimination and sexual harassment projections. That was an issue, and Bill 22 they've been touting that, like, hey, we're going to protect you now if some shit happens while you're driving. Now, here's the part I really want you to see. The UC Berkeley Labor Center estimates that loopholes in the initiative leave Uber and Lyft drivers with a pay guarantee that is equivalent of a wage of $5.64 per hour, far less than the 120% earnings guarantee provided by the initiative. That's insane. The passage of AB 5 was met with intense opposition from gig/digital platform companies. Companies including Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates, and Instacart pledged to spend $110 million on a ballot initiative that would exempt them from AB 5 regulations. They filed the Protect App-Based Drivers Services Act on October 29th, 2019, hoping to qualify as a ballot initiative on the November 2020 ballot. Well, it's here. It is here. If you live in California, I'm not going to get on you for who you're going to vote for president. I'm not going to get on you for any of that shit. I am going to do the big ask and say, please, 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 can we vote no on this Proposition 22? I plan to go into more of these as we get close to election time. If you guys have any questions, please send them my way on other propositions that are coming up. But this one frightens me because it can have lasting impacts beyond just gig work. A lot of tech companies do this. A lot of companies do this. When this bill got passed, so many people started to find out I'm actually an employee of this company and I actually deserve some worker protections. I deserve some rights. When we talk about capitalism and freedom, capitalism gives us the freedom to choose between a million different Sharpie type pens. There's so many different kinds of cereal I can buy. But when it comes to things like worker protections, how democratic is your workspace in capitalism? Seriously. Do you vote on your boss? No. Is it a little dictatorshipy? And this does not go out to the people that I'm my own boss. Yeah, that's great. I'm not talking to you. But seriously, what do we have free here? If you go back and listen to an episode I did, it dropped Sunday. I had with a young man, 19, kids smart as a fucking whip, 19. Ramon, shout out. What up? The media is controlled by a handful of people, right? A handful of people control what you hear and see, and they're controlled by ad dollars, right? Because that's what they sell to advertisers, your eyeballs. How free is our press? You don't believe me? You think it's pretty free? Okay. Take the White House, for example. Who gets access and who doesn't? I'm a media person. Can I get a press pass? But seriously, who has that access? Who gets that level of access to those people? You have to play a certain game at a point. Even all these choices that we think we have when it comes to things like cereal, you start to find out that one company owns the quote unquote generic brand and the name brand. Monopoly power, man. It's inherent in the system. Yes, son. Yes, son. Would you like to riff on capitalism for a second? Yes. I'm doing a live stream. Would you like to come in here and riff for a minute? Usually my son likes to be a part of these shows. Today he does not want to be a part of these shows. I am moving my water because I don't trust him. He's 2 years old, and he's 2 years old. All right, I'm about to get out of here because it's bedtime. Are you going to come here? Are you going to give me a hug? Okay, but you can't kick anything. Can you say good night? Can you say good night? Say night night.
Night.
Say love y'all.
No. Love you.
Okay. You gonna go to bed now?
Yeah.
Okay. Night night.
Night.
Love you. So Phoenix said good night. So before I go, I've been getting told that I needed to have a book Well, yeah, this is my book segment. My son's yelling at me because I'm not reading the book that he wants me to read, which is Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. Anyway, Recently on the show, I had the great Professor Harvey J.K. on. I finally got his book, Take Hold of Our History. It's a series of essays, 18 essays and speeches, render a manifesto, a call to remember, redeem, and embrace the American radical story and tradition in favor of cultivating American historical memory and imagination and making America radical once again. Recently, I had on my show Richard Rothstein that wrote The Color of Law. My cousin Keenan, who I love like a brother. We were raised in Richmond, California. This book, a lot of it takes place in Richmond, California. It is The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America. Please go back and listen to the episode with Richard Rothstein, where he talks more in depth about this. And we definitely talked about stories in the book because he uses archival evidence. Coming up on the show next week, I'm interviewing Touré Reed, the son of Adolph Reed Jr., who I was talking about earlier, who wrote this book, Towards Freedom. Touré and I have been going back and forth on email. I found out that he plays guitar, and I think the show may be more about gear and shredding than about the case against race reductionism. But if you are a fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates, he does a brilliant takedown of Ta-Nehisi Coates and Barack Obama in this book. We will talk about it. And last but not least, please, please, please. So recently on the news here locally, there's been a push to release a lot of the prisoners at San Quentin because there's guys that actually served their term and they're stuck in there because of COVID. Every county sued the prison system and was like, look, we're not taking any of these motherfuckers because they got COVID. Good friend of mine works for the prison system. He told me a story about San Quentin that was heartbreaking, to the point where it was like nurses had to choose who lives and who dies because there wasn't enough ambulances. That's rough. He's been there for 20 years. And he said for the first time in his 20 years, like inmates and guards have been working together to try to slow the spread and try to not have riots. It's, thank you, brother. One love. But this book, so what I was doing, and I do this all the time. It's a problem I have. I read the comments. So as I'm watching the thing, I'm watching these people like, give their speeches, and as priests, they're definitely involved with this movement, prison abolition movement. And the comments were like, well, these guys did crimes, so fuck them. And what's going on? And the Guardian, the UK publication, The Guardian, did a whole expose on how a lot of these cats, some of them were like firefighters. So let's remember, vice presidential candidate or vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris was keeping motherfuckers in prison so they could go be firefighters, earning like up to $5 a day, doing the hardest job. They're the ones digging the trenches and shit out there, fighting all these horrendous forest fires that do this work and then can't get a job as a firefighter. So Gavin Newsom just passed a bill that's like, hey, maybe we should let these motherfuckers be firefighters. Anyway, some of these cats did their time fighting forest fires, trying to save property and lives, and they got caught up and snatched and thrown into ICE jails. You've served your time. What's everybody say? Pay your debt to society. Them hoes pay their debt to society. Whatever the time was they served it, they're done. I'm going home. Try to start my life over. Do the right thing from now on out. I'm going to figure out whatever the fuck the right thing is. Let me try to do it. No, bitch. You're here illegally. I'm throwing you in another jail for an undisclosed amount of time. Then I'm going to send you back to whatever fucking country you're from. So if you left said country because of some sort of conflict, war, you were seeking asylum, and you just snuck in because, You were fleeing horrible shit. You've been here for the majority of your life. Maybe you don't have family back home. Maybe going back home can get you murdered. Boom. Thanks for fighting these forest fires and making all the Victoria's Secret shit and the Thomasville furniture and the Walmart shit and all the other bullshit you was making in prison for pennies a day. And bitch, you're going to ICE jail. And then I'm going to kick your whole ass to the curb. The comments that people were saying about that, because it's all out of context for them. They just think that there's this door with hella prisoners in it, and Gavin Newsom's going to open it because these people are asking him to, and then all the murderers run out. I can tell you from experience, I was at the homeless shelter that these people had to come to for 2 weeks of quarantine, or I was next door to the one they came to. Some of them came to mind. Some of them not many. They're not letting go the death row guys first. Let's be realistic here, people. It's a process. The problem is there's a lot of people in there, and COVID, it's sad. My boy told me some sad shit. He said, and this is out of his mouth, to tell you how real this shit is and how real of a motherfucker he is. He said, people on death row I've known for 20 years died. He didn't mean other workers there. He meant cats he's just known. And motherfuckers I work with died. They can't let everybody go because, let's just say, somebody gets free, rob a liquor store, beat somebody up, get involved in anything that gets some public notoriety. Now all of a sudden, well, that's what happens when you let these motherfuckers out of jail. So, the feminist and the sex offender confronting sexual harm and ending state violence basically kind of asked the question, in the era of Me Too and mass incarceration, the feminist and the sex offender makes a powerful feminist case for accountability without punishment and for sexual safety and freedom without injustice. I was trying at the shelter to create an environment for the violent men to deal with their violent histories and to come to grips with that. And I was trying to create an environment for these women that are victims to come to grips with that and learn how to deal with that. I found out since I left, they killed all the programs. Best believe nobody gives a shit about a lot of those couples that are in there. Because at the end of the day, nobody gives a fuck about homeless people. They are a major paycheck to a lot of corporations, especially nonprofits. Getting that state money. I can't even call it organized chaos. It's just chaos. I've had to pull people off of people, man. Men off women. It's so bad, people don't want to be there. But I had Erica Miners, one of the writers of the book. It's two women that wrote it. And actually, one of the real cool things about the book is you'll be reading it, you're reading it, and all of a sudden they'll stop and they'll have a discussion about something one of them wrote. Because this isn't a Bible and it's not a guidebook but it's a way for us to start thinking about the victims of sexual harm and the violators. Because what are we going to do with them? Lock them up. Okay. Then motherfuckers get out. What happens when they get out? Who do you think is on them streets? They're like an untouchable class. There's a lot that goes into this shit. But it's a great book. Listen to the episode, The Feminist and the Sex Offender. I believe I called it The Feminist and the Sex Offender, with Erica R. Miners. Please, please, please listen to the show. If you guys can, I would appreciate becoming a patron. It's $3 a month. You get bonus content. I am creating extra shows for bonus content. More of this shit. More interactive stuff. You get more Phoenix. How cute is that kid, right? So thank you guys very much for taking the time to listen to me. I'm sorry that I didn't have my special guests with me today. Both guys kind of flaked out on me. I shouldn't say flaked out. I asked Pasquale super last minute because the first two, we've been playing phone tag and it didn't work out. But that being said, next Tuesday we'll be doing another live stream. Tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream because it's the vice presidential debate, and I'm going to do a live stream while we watch the debate. So please, let's talk some shit and watch Kamala Harris just rip Mike Pence. I'm calling it right now. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump is scared of Kamala Harris. Remember when she was running for president? It was a very bad run. When she was running for president, and she took down Joe Biden. And Donald Trump was like, ooh, that Kamala Harris. Oh. Because she going to do all the neck roll shit on Mike Pence's ass. And it's a wrap for him. And he probably got COVID. Kamala said, I ain't coming to that motherfucker unless you get a big ass plastic encasement for me like the Pope. I don't want him breathing near me. All right. So thank y'all. Peace.